Hi, and welcome to Driving Success with Canon. My name is Sean McGettigan, and I'll be your host. Today's going to be more of a roundtable discussion rather than a traditional webinar. We'll be doing some show and tell regarding print applications that you can run on a Canon Pro Series printer, really to increase the products that you can offer to your customers and increase your sales revenue. Moving forward here at this point, I'd like to introduce Dave Rice and Pete Wright. Dave's a veteran of Canon USA. He started back with Canon when they really just began their large format solutions division. So he's been there, basically since the beginning. He's a color and media expert, really passionate about print applications and trying to find different ways for, Canon customers to use their printer, to keep it active, to offer these different applications, to their customers. We also have Pete Wright with us today, and Pete is an international award-winning master photographer. Some of you may know him already. He's also a writer based here in Bradenton, Florida, close by to us here in Sarasota. At the beginning of 2016, he began also working with Canon in the large format print division. He works with Dave, and his focus really is educating photographers and other businesses on how they can produce the best print possible. And he really does focus on applications as well, and alternative ways to produce things. I think one of the things that you'll kind of see today is a number of these applications that we're going to talk about. You do see moving more toward printers that are that have UV based ink or solvent or resin. But with your aqueous Canon printers, you can still produce those applications. Typically, you can produce them in a higher print quality as well, and under the terms needed by the customer as far as how long it needs to last, especially if it's indoors. So with that long preamble, why don't we go ahead and just jump right in. First, again, thank you, Dave, for being with us, and Pete for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Always.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. So listen, I know the three of us got together and we discussed some potential print applications and products that you guys have found work very well in the Canon printers, and maybe we could just jump right in with the first one, being something for wall graphics and floor graphics, being the LexJet print and stick fabric. So I don't know, Dave, what are your thoughts on that application and where this product fits in and how Canon users have been successful with it?
Yeah, I use that product, a lot. The repositionable is such a popular product today for us. We're seeing applications of the repositionable product, as you see, on the wall behind me. I mean, that's a painted block wall. I can't get anything to stick to a painted block wall hardly, and these repositional products, stick well to a lot of conditions where you just wouldn't expect it to be used. The one of the things that Canon offers some software tools, something called Canon Free Layout Plus, and it offers you, even the most novice user, the ability to kind of do some nice paneling of a single image, where you can turn it into a quick wall mural. In fact, maybe it's not the ideal condition. I'm using my laptop here. Maybe I can show you here in a minute where, I've just simply taken a company logo and paneled it across. I had a postcard I turned into a wall mural, just because we had the mayor come into our facility, and we just wanted to do something to kind of welcome him here where I'm at today. So that was kind of fun to do. But, these types of applications, as you can kind of see behind me, are extremely popular because it can be used in a lot of different ways. First of all, you can see, some of the stuff is COVID signage. In construction industry, you can see they use it quite often because they don't need to have the caution signs up all the time. It's only at certain phases of the project. So having, certain graphics up for as a temporary purpose is really important. In, like an education market, you take a look at temporary yard signs, political signs, those types of things. Having the ability to go ahead and grab a quick print here, to create, because the outdoor capabilities, creating quick and easy graphics. And the other thing too is the output quality is pretty amazing when you take a look at these. I'm going to go ahead and flip this around on kind of on the back side, just so you can kind of see, you know, it's true photographic quality. This was just done on our GP series machine. So, you know, when you take a look at those kind of capabilities and the fact that I can easily, you know, take this off, I mean, and replace it with no residue, nothing that's going to, you know, cause this to stick or anything to, you know, start collecting lint. There's no residue of any kind that's being applied to this. So kind of the smoother the surface, the better it sticks, the harder it sticks, which is exactly what we want for like coroplast type applications. When you have, let's say like a painted wall, it's not quite as aggressive because it's not perfectly smooth, right? Like something like this is. And just do the texture of the paint, if you will, it just comes off super simple. But it you know, you get zero, you know, zero residue or zero damage at all to your paint, which is, you know, kind of the most important thing for a lot of customers. One of my, you know, here at Canon, we do a lot of events across the country, especially when we launch new products. And one of the things that, you know, I always do is, you know, at those events, I want to put, you know, graphics up, letting people know where to go, directional signage, but more importantly, just advertising the event. So the fact that, you know, we can put the foam cores, apply it, right, then for that, the next day, the events or the things are changing, I can just go ahead and tear that off and reuse the same foam cord without having additional expense is really
Dave,
one
I
of the
see
key applications.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I see especially with that one, just thinking about it in terms of, you know, who would be purchasing something like that or who you could offer something like that to. If you're a school and you have your printer in a house, I mean, I see yard signs like this at the front of high schools, middle schools, elementary schools all the time. So I feel like that would be an easy application for, you know, someone who isn't, I don't want to say someone who is a novice user, but typically, you know, it's not something that you're spending all day on if you're at a school. So you need something that's easy. And I feel like that's a great application, you know, for schools or for a photographer even who is, you know, working with schools. They're doing school photography. They're doing sports teams. I see, again, those signs out there on the lawn for that stuff as well. So there's no reason that if the school can't do it, that you as a photographer or someone with this printer who has a relationship with the school can't get right in there and help them with that. Just super easy and another great way to use the, you know, the Canon printers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
Sean, I had a law office that actually, they approached me because they were using their printer, but they were still outsourcing the boards that they showed in the courtroom that was a mounted board with print on it. And they were outsourcing to a place that would print it and mount it for them. And then when they were done, they would throw it out. And I'm like, you don't have to do that anymore. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you can get the boards and then just reuse the same board over and over. And then all you're doing is peeling it and sticking it. And if you don't get it just right, it's repositionable. So you can peel it and stick it until you get it right. And they're like, wait a minute. And now we don't have to wait until the next day to get it. We can get it right away. And we're not paying them to mount it. We're reusing the same thing. And they instantly switched. It basically gave them the reason to keep and to buy the Canon printer and that specific media, because they were basically becoming eco-friendly by not buying something new and throwing it away. And, you know, especially with you guys, I know you guys are super into eco-friendly right now. So anytime we can reduce our waste and reuse things over and over again, that's fantastic.
Definitely. And I think just while we're talking through the yard sign application, for those who haven't produced it before, the LexJet YouTube channel has a video that shows how to apply it, applying it to the board, then basically flipping the board over and then trimming out the excess, you know, from the back so it's nice and clean. So for, again, anyone who's interested in that type of application, we do have that support on the LexJet YouTube channel as well, where you can watch a quick video and see how it's applied and trimmed out. So just wanted to throw that in there just in case.
Yeah, so, you know, the part of the reason why I'm sitting where I'm at is I wanted to let people see as a backdrop, right? Everything and how I'm using it. And, you know, so if you want, I mean, I know this is risky, and you can kind of make the call, Sean. I could actually show a few areas where we've actually are using it here, specifically with kind of the wall mural type applications. It's up to you.
I'm not averse to the risk at this point.
Okay.
Dave, you know, we walked through yesterday. I saw what we're going to be seeing, so
I think
it's okay. It's
cool.
nothing out of line.
Well, Sean, while he gets on, Dave, before you leave that room, Sean, can you talk about the fact that this is slip rated for the floors?
Yeah.
It is, absolutely. This is something that you can use for floor graphics as well,
Dave,
for short-term floor
there
graphics.
on your floor?
I took it off, yeah. So you can see was there for so long that the floor, you know, it became, you know, as the floor carpet gets lighter and lighter, so you can actually see where it once was.
I mean, the fact that number one, it attached to carpet for months and was vacuumed over every single day. But number two, I've seen sports teams at basketball courts. They're not putting it on the main court, but they're putting it on the perimeter of their court for advertisers. So now, you know, somebody will buy advertising right on the perimeter of the floor, which is really cool.
So what you're saying here is
real quick though, Dave, real quick, just on the slip resistance, you know, one of the things that we would recommend though, with this, there is a liquid laminate that, you know, we would recommend that you coat with, especially in that floor scenario in a gym. So people aren't slipping and sliding as they're running real fast by. So anyway, I apologize, Dave. Continue.
Sounds good. Yeah. So, you know, one of the things too is just simple things. These are all things Pete kind of created. We had some of the kids that were, you know, going to the state championship in baseball, Final Four, and that was kind of fun to do some fat heads for them. But, you know, being able to do these types of applications, pennants, that type of thing. One of the things, this has been intentionally kind of peeled back so you can kind of see how you can do the paneling, right? I wanted to show how you can kind of do those overlaps, really simple to do. You know, because of the accuracy of these devices when it comes to length, it really makes it nice. But, you know, just, you know, I'm at my buddy's machine shop here, and as you can see, we've got some really nice signage that's up here on the wall. And then some of the products in which they manufacture here. So you can kind of see here. And if you kind of take a look, you know, I kind of talked about this, and this has probably been peeled off the wall, you know, 50 to 100 times, no residue of any kind. And there we can just go ahead and reapply that, no problems whatsoever. And this is that postcard I kind of talked about, right? This was a postcard I scanned in and turned into a simple wall mural. And then Julie, poor Julie, she's always in my videos here, but this was just simply their company logo. And it serves as kind of a backdrop, as you see right here. And if you take a look like through the window there, you can see outdoors where we've been using some of this media. I know it's not an outdoor media, that's undercover, but, you know, having it apply to like a window and just, you know, some of the stuff with like workplace safety, these types of applications is really kind of, you know, we always want to continue to be safe, and, you know, just even doing exit signs so people know where to go are some of the keys. And signage, you know, when you walk back in the shop, so you're making sure you're wearing your goggles, that type of thing. So I hope this helps a little bit. Since I'm walking around, I'm gonna go ahead and show kind of this backdrop. This is actually something, a media I'm gonna talk about here in just a minute. But this was kind of a neat story. During the pandemic, my daughter became pregnant. She was having twins, and we were so locked down, she wanted to let people know about that. So I kind of made her a sign. So she sat in the car and drove to see people. And it was kind of neat for her just to get out of the house, you know, talk to people at a distance and say, hey, you know, we're having twins. And, you know, and that was once on here, and now it's up on the wall, right? So you can kind of reuse some of these, kind of reuse it, if you will, right? It's not a one and done. Again, repositionable. Take it back to your office and put it up on the wall. And if you want to reuse it again, I could put that back on the sign. So that's the other part of it that's really important to notate is, you know, you don't have to throw it away. There are places you can kind of put it and potentially reuse it. So
yeah,
you know,
my
I don't know that she's gonna have twins again, hopefully, but you know, she never knows. So.
My absolute favorite reuse of the repositionable peel and stick.
Yep.
These are really handy at airports if you're just having a long layover, bored out of your mind. This is actually on the same repositionable peel and stick, and it's just hours of entertainment while you're sitting waiting for your next flight, watching people come to charge their phone. But this is a textured wall surface with a matte paint, and it sticks to this. I mean, textured surfaces are tough for most things, and this, if I can get it straight again, sticks perfectly. So I'm sure Canon and LexJet don't necessarily endorse being mean to people and sticking, but I personally love it.
Yeah, it kind of backfired on me. He gave me one of those one time, and my wife's been complaining about having a outlet in our kitchen. There's a spot in our kitchen that just needed an outlet, so I kind of put one of those up. She comes home, oh my goodness, you put that outlet in. She didn't find it too amusing, so gotta be careful with that one. So
don't recommend using it at home.
Put together a disclaimer.
Before we move on to the next application, one thing I did want to mention, just since we're talking about walls and paint and texture, is whether it's our print and stick product or really any product that's going up on a wall, please be sure that if it is fresh paint, that it is outgassed for at least 2 weeks before you apply something, because that's a surefire way for graphic failure to occur. So that's the one thing that I wanted to mention as we're talking about the walls and paint.
One more application I want to talk about. We did an event out in Arizona, and it was Arizona, right, Pete? No, it wasn't Arizona. It was California.
It was Palm Springs, California.
Yes, and we did like a Jeep tour, and these Jeeps, they were actually older Jeeps, and they have these sandwich boards on the sides and on the back, and we wanted to kind of advertise it with Canon. So as these Jeeps pulled up, and all these people from LexJet and our other dealers kind of were there. LexJet was there, Bart. So we had a bunch of art was there. So it was kind of fun hosting everyone, and we did this Jeep tour as one of our fun events. And one of the things I did, I flew out ahead of time, and I want to take some measurements of those sandwich boards, and I want to put some stuff like on the hood. We have a contour cut solution we were showing, and so Pete worked really hard in developing all this graphics, but these people were a little bit freaked out about potentially putting anything on their vehicles, especially in that hot sun and that type of thing. And so I asked them if I could just come out ahead of time and show them how it works, and we ended up selling them a printer. So they ended up buying, it was just a TM, right? They didn't need anything fancy, and a contour cutter, because they realized that this is a great for a one-day corporate type events, do that branding. It ended up really being a nice way to kind of show off the application to all of our dealers, but more importantly, show how you have a customer that immediately bought this, so which was really nice. So
good. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't believe we've already been on for 15, almost 20 minutes talking about one print application, and
I could be here 3 hours. I can't do it.
Oh, Dave, I know. We're gonna have to keep Dave in check, but he has so much knowledge; it all comes out, and he just doesn't know how to stop.
Look, we'll try to keep it under 3 hours, like our last.
Yes.
I got a flight to take today, guys.
So the next one that we wanted to discuss was, and I really want to talk about the applications first before we talk about the product, because I feel like that's really what this is all about. There are multiple ways to produce an application, but in the sense of this one, the water resistant satin cloth, I feel like it's such a unique product, and it's something that LexJet has been carrying for more than I think about 18 years at least. It's been around forever, and it could be used for so many different things, from something being backlit or in a banner stand, to tapestries. Let's jump into that, and maybe Pete, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the applications for water resistant satin cloth, maybe some ways that you've seen it used. And then Dave, obviously, follow up on that. That'd be great.
My favorite application that I've seen, and Dave talks about it a lot, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but I have seen a lot of where these were used kind of as hanging banners from the rafters. Like I've seen schools where they'll actually, if they retire a player's jersey or number, they'll actually print it on this and put a dowel rod and hang it, so it'll be looped over, and they'll use our free layout plus so that it lays out as an A-frame basically, and then just put a little tiny weight at the bottom and then raise that. And it's fantastic. I've seen weddings where they'll have the bride and groom picture hanging, all kinds of neat applications because it's lightweight enough that it's easy to raise, and it doesn't take much weight at the bottom to keep it taut. It's typically when you get into something that you're going to raise up, people are thinking of like heavy fabrics and heavy canvases and stuff like that have curl, and they need a lot of weight to keep them tense. This is so light that it barely takes any weight. I mean, you can take a paper clip at the bottom of it, and it's enough weight just to keep it nice and tense in terms of down weight. But then on top of that, the printing capabilities of how beautifully it prints, how good it looks. He's going to show an example in a minute. There's so many applications just from a hanging from the rafters type, walking into conventions. A lot of times when you walk into these huge conventions, as you're walking through, they'll have signs kind of hanging down from the ceiling telling you where to go. This is aisle 103. This is aisle 104. Just those aisle markers hanging down from the ceiling. This is the perfect material for something like that.
Yeah, I'll kind of jump in. So, what's interesting is my first exposure to this product was actually someone from LexJet, I can't remember who it was, they had bought a brand new printer, and the printer did not get there in time. And this guy had promised some banners to be up at a wedding. And you guys literally overnighted me a 44-inch wide version of this. And the photographer sent me the bride and the groom's photos. And so, I used our free layout plus to lay them out, literally within, no exaggeration, 5 seconds, I'm printing these out. And I was just blown away. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite products, period. Just because how nice, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of stand up here. When you take a look at it, as Pete talked about, I'm just putting my fingers in here, right? Look how nice that lays. And I asked the gentleman, what's your plan? And he's like, all I'm planning on doing is just putting a paper clip at the bottom just to keep it together. And frankly, he was like, well, what? He was, I have different colored paper clips. And when you take a look how that lays, I mean, almost you don't even have to do it because it just lays so nicely, right? Because, my fingers are about the width of a dowel rod you have to use. But the fact I don't even have my fingers going completely through this, just on the edges. So it shows that strength and durability and just complete tear resistance. And even if you kind of take this up and, turn it in the ball, it just, again, it's unbelievable. It truly is. It's one of my favorite products. I love to show it. I wear LexJet out, always asking for this product. I've always got it here. I send samples out. I know I've sold a ton of this material for you guys throughout the years, but this is amazing. And if someone doesn't have this, they should get it. It's just one of those things you need to have on your shelf.
It's just a good media just to have on standby. I mean, because you just never know what you're going to run into, where this is the perfect application for.
And a little bit like you kind of started out with, right? Because, I wish I had my camera set up on a tripod here, but I'm putting this against the window. It literally looks like it's, it's backlit. It's a great backlit material too. So you kind of talked about an application, Sean, when we were.
Yes, that's what I was about to mention. Pete, Dave, and I, before we began today, we're just, kind of running through, the products we were going to talk about today, with all of you. And while we were talking about the satin cloth material, I was, remembering an application that a customer ran for a gallery exhibit, and they used they basically gallery wrapped the water resistant satin cloth, on a wood frame, and I believe it was using the Go frame system. I could be wrong on that. Either way, it was wrapped. And then they had LED lights that they put in behind, basically put those on the wall. The canvas went over the top, and then the light would be on behind. And I can't remember if it was press on, remote controlled. Obviously, I would use remote controlled at this point, readily available. But it just became this beautiful, gallery wrapped backlit print, just luminous, really, really well done. So really, this material is one that I don't want to say the applications are limitless or the ideas are limitless, but it's pretty close with what you can do with it. So
yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's a really amazing product.
Dave, can you imagine that application with the fluorescent pink and the fluorescent colors on the GP?
You want to see that? I've already done it. I've got a small one I carry with me, a
Sure.
8.5 by 11. Let me grab it real quick. Give me one second.
All right.
Dave is
he's very excited now.
Treasure box. He's got he is the king of samples.
Yes, he is. That was it. He was giddy with that response. You did a nice job there, Pete. You made his day.
Yes, it is. I have that by chance.
Yes.
I grabbed this right out of a bunch of LexJet products, and here's it's just amazing, right? Just a really nice fluorescent pink.
Yep.
Kind of adding. This is something that Pete actually created, but this is really kind of fun. Just it's amazing the kind of pop we can get with new fluorescent colors.
Real quick, for those who may not know the GP versus the standard Image Photograph Pro series, real quick, why do you highlight pink? What's important about that? Why can you get those different colors?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, right? So, pink when combined with, so you can turn pink off, the fluorescent pink, so it's a true fluorescent color. So, I'm an old man, right, to somewhat, and so when I was a kid, I had blacklight posters in my room, going to Spencer's Gift, couldn't wait to get that next blacklight poster, and we'd all kind of sit there, and that was all we do, right? Which is kind of cool. The fact that this fluoresces, Pete comes back from WPBI and says, hey, someone actually had a booth set up with black lights, and they were showing the fluorescence coming off of our printer, which we had no idea it would do. But the fact that we have something called radiant infusion technology, so we can actually mix that fluorescent colors with other colors, and it just gives it a level of vibrancy that's it's crazy. I don't want to talk about certain customers, but there was a really big customer that was using our Pro Series worldwide. And when they saw the output quality, because a lot of the stuff is illustrations, a lot of animation, and they were just completely blown away by the level of color you can achieve that just was not achievable with these machines. If you want, I actually have two prints sitting next to each other, one off our 12 ink, one off our GP 4000. I can kind of show those real quick, just showing
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate that. And in the meantime, Pete, just real quick, the GP 4000 versus the Pro 4100. What are you going to see as far as a difference there? It's slightly different ink set. The GP ink set allows you to hit some colors that you can't hit, essentially, with the standard ink set, correct?
If you have the fluorescent pink turned off and you print the exact same image side by side, they'll look almost identical. It's when you turn that fluorescent pink on, then all of a sudden you get this whole new gamut of colors that just goes insane. In addition to fluorescent pink, it's got violet, it's got orange, so it just hits a gamut of bright, vivid colors that the Pro's just not quite capable of. They both look fantastic, but it also depends on your applications. It depends on what you're doing. You're printing portraits and family photographs and wedding stuff, the Pro's definitely the way to go. But if you're doing things like signage and banners and posters and things, if you're doing fine art stuff, sunsets, sunrises, where you've got vivid pinks and purples and bright colors, then you really got to look at the GP. It depends on what you're printing. They are both similar but totally different printers depending on the application. And that's kind of the nice thing is when you are making your decisions on what you're going to print, not only are you deciding which of these amazing medias you're going to use, but you're deciding which printer is going to be the best fit. So you're not just trying to make a square would a square peg fit into a round hole, you can get the exact fit that you need for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, so the biggest thing I think that's really important to notate here is the new GP4000. We had one goal in mind, to offer the largest color gamut of any product ever produced, right? That was the number one goal, and we've achieved that. But more importantly, Pantone is really important to a lot of customers, and the fact we can hit 99% of this Pantone color palette, right? I hit 99% of all the colors in here, but what's unique that this product gives you is the pastels and neon colors. So we actually hit 97% of this guide, which no one can achieve.
Wow.
So that's pretty incredible when you sit back and take a look at, some of these pastels and neon colors, by offering not only the fluorescent color, which helps us hit some of those neon colors, but more importantly, the orange, like Pete talked about, also the purple, which in a sense is violet, right? I mean, with these gamut expanding colors, green we've added to this machine, right? Which you don't have green in any other machine. Right. Now, these are the things that are helping expand. And here's one of the things I really think is important, Sean. You look at a Pro 4100. What do you sell that machine for? Just out of curiosity, any idea?
I actually don't, Dave. One of the last things
probably just
I worry about.
I'm like you, right? It's just
I'm into the products themselves.
Yeah. So maybe
but
look.
Hey, they do get 5% off of the Pro 4100 just for watching today.
Yeah, that's correct. And I was going to mention that at the end, Pete. But thank you. If you do need a new ImagePrograph Pro Series printer, there is a discount for attendees.
Yeah. So one of the things too the point I'm trying to make is that machine shipped with $2,000 worth of ink, right? And it's just over $4,000, less than $5,000. Yep. So the reality is the printers are so cheap, it almost makes sense to have a GP4000 and a Pro 4100 if you're doing a lot of fine art printing, or if I'm printing on glossy photographic paper, I'm going Pro Series all day long because of Chrome Optimizer. But if I'm doing some fine art printing, I mean, there's level of colors you can achieve with this new machine that it's unbelievable, right? So awesome. I think for the first time ever, there really is a case to really have two printers, because the machines are really almost, I'm not gonna call them free. I mean, $2,000 is not free, but they're just over $2,000 to buy the printer itself for a 44-inch wide machine.
Once you consider the ink that comes with it. Right. Yeah. Yep. And I think that's always been a big part of the Canon value proposition with the printers, is on that 44-inch and the 60 is the ink that comes with it. It really defrays, the overall cost when you think about it. It's not a starter set of ink that might come from, another, competitor.
Yeah, you're not turning right around buying more ink right after you bought it.
Exactly. So thank you for that.
You can generate enough revenue as a professional photographer with the set of inks that come with it to completely pay for the printer.
Yep.
Either machine. Yeah. So yeah. Anyhow.
Okay. Well,
that's my thoughts on.
Thank you. At this point, we'll continue on. So the next application, it kind of goes back to something I said in the beginning, which is, a number of these applications have shifted to more, solvents, resin, UV type inks. But you're more than capable of producing it, and producing it in a high quality fashion on one of the Canon ImagePrograph series printers. So as far as applications go, one of the main applications you see is perforated window vinyl going into storefronts, and that's something that you guys can do on your aqueous Canon printers. So Dave, why don't you lead the way on this one?
I appreciate it. So actually, the only time I've ever really done this is my brother-in-law. He had a business, and his business was in a strip mall, if you will, not strip, strip mall, huge windows. And I asked him, I said, hey, I've got this, window perf I'd like, I've been showing it for years. Do you mind if I print something spray coated and non-spray coated just to see what the difference would be? And he actually went to an advertising company, kind of put the signage up, and I have some photos of that, but just to see how well it would hold up. And he had it up in the window for almost 3 years, before he ended up moving to a new building, which is shocking, right? It definitely had
Mhm.
faded, and you can see where the spray coated one had held up better than the other. But the fact that it was still up 3 years later, it did have a bit of an overhang, right? So as people would walk around,
Mhm.
it had a bit of an overhang, so that really helped big time. But that was shocking just how well it held up, and it's just amazing considering it's an aqueous printer. I love to show this print sample. This is your typical glass. You can't see it, but the moment you flip it around, you can definitely see me, right? So
Mhm.
the fact that you've got kind of those viewing conditions, it's really durable. It does provide a level of security because it offers a certain level of strength to that window from breaking and someone trying to break in. So which is another piece to it. I kind of tested that, saying how well it would help. Believe it or not, that's on there pretty good. I mean, it's not easy to take this off. You can get it off, but you need kind of
As a disclaimer, at LexJet, we have not tested it to be burglar proof or for breaking the windows. Just to be clear. Just to be clear.
only because I dropped
That's my
one.
disclaimer.
I dropped one of these down and broke it, and so it kind of held it together. So
Yes.
I did like a dozen of these, and one just got
For those of
shattered
us in
like crazy.
Florida, it's not going to turn your windows into your non-hurricane
That's right.
impact windows into impact windows.
Good point.
So just want to
Well, there goes
be
my
clear about
plan.
that one. I know. So
Yeah.
but-
The only reason why I know is I destroyed one of these big time, and the window kind of helped keep it from shattering all out.
Yeah. No, and this one, it's there really isn't much more to talk about on this one because it is such a specific application.
Yep.
But we felt it was really worth talking about because I don't know of many other perforated window vinyls on the market that are available for an aqueous printer.
No,
Um,
to be clear, this isn't something that you're going to put on your bus window or your RV window because it's not
Yes.
really for that application. You could do it temporarily.
Game day, baby. You never
Mhm.
know, right?
I
RV.
mean,
It's
if you want to put it, if you're doing tailgating for a football game, then sure, go ahead. But this isn't a long-term application.
No.
Something like that.
Correct. And in the openings, the opening, it's a 70-30 opening. So that's 70% vinyl, 30% opening. When you're going to a vehicle, you need to have basically bigger holes. So I think I'm not sure if it depends on state. I think there's at 60-40, I think, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately, I can't remember off the top of my head, but typically you want the bigger holes. But yes, this is perfect for non-vehicle retail, indoor is what was recommended. And like Dave had said, he has some experience with seeing the prints after they've been outdoor with an overhang, and they held up really well there as well.
Really well, yeah. It was fantastic, actually. He was blown away. I told him a year maybe, right? And 3 years later, it was still up. He's like, it's unbelievable, Dave. So nice product, really nice product. I love showing.
And one of our attendees in the question panel let me know that they've used it with our optically clear. I'm sure it's our optically clear laminate or an optically clear laminate successfully, and it's worked really well. So
that's actually a great idea. That'll help, get rid of some of the mess too, potentially, that could happen from not having, because if you got like a solvent or something on your hands, you could potentially rub that off. Especially clean window, right? Glass.
Yes, definitely.
So that would be really kind of the critical piece. So
and I think with any of these applications that we're talking about, obviously rely on us at LexJet, rely on all of us to be able to tell you what's the best way to install something, or the different considerations you may have, because not every installation is unique, but many aspects of an installation can change the way you may want to do something. So always, we're always here to help from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So the next one is also a pretty straightforward one. And Pete, I'll let you lead off talking about Banner. and specifically the LexJet Tough Coat Thrifty banner.
Well, this is possibly my favorite product you guys have, and you and I have talked about this product a bunch of times.
Yes.
My first experience with this was at a trade show called Imaging USA. It was in Nashville, and it was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And LexJet had a booth, and it was during a snowstorm, a really bad snowstorm. And the vendor across the aisle from you guys,
Mm.
the lady that was running the booth was literally sitting in her booth in tears, because not only had her entire display and booth gotten stuck in shipping due to storm and wasn't going to get in, but they were going to get charged a fee, because for this particular show, if you didn't have flooring or carpet down in your booth, you got fined, because it was something you could purchase. So you either had to purchase it or provide your own. Well, they had their own that was in their booth. So they were going to get charged an arm and a leg for that, and not have a booth. And she's just sitting there in tears, didn't know what to do. And I walked over to one of your employees, Michael Clemente, who's the mad scientist there, and I said, "Hey, do you guys have any kind of banner material or anything like that?" And he shows me this material, and I'm like, "Can we print a floor on that?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's really durable." So I happen to have a file for a barnwood floor, and we printed just strip after strip of a floor to do a 10-foot by 10-foot floor. We used carpet tape and taped it down. She happened to have the files for all the different banners they were going to hang. We printed all of those and we hung those. She went and found a couple of folding chairs and a card table and printed some handouts. And she actually had a pretty good booth there. But that show had, I want to say, between 8 and 10,000 people over 3 days walking across this. And she was on a corner, so she got lots of traffic. When the show was over, at the end of the show, the floor looked that had been walked on nonstop for 3 days. The floor that had been printed looked just like the day it was printed. The best part was you guys were able to stand in the booth right across and say, "Yeah, see their booth? We printed their whole booth." And you could point at the floor and you could point at the banners, and you were able to say, that's what you could do with this printer. It was like this walking advertisement for you guys to be able to say, yes, you can print your great portraits and your prints and things like that, but here's some other applications you have. And that particular material is just so hardy, so durable. Again, prints really well. And it's just that little bit of a woven fiber. It's, to me, I always like to refer to it kind of as like a canvas with a coating on it. I mean, it's just, I can't describe it, but it's just got this woven texture to it that makes
the waffle.
so,
Looks like a waffle back.
Yeah, and it handles grommets really well. So it's just so good for banners.
Yep. And that's one thing that you brought up, grommets, and that's another thing that I want to mention. Obviously, you're really talking about the durability of the material. So thinking about it in those terms of being outdoors, it's going to hold. If it held up to 10,000 pairs of feet or 8,000 pairs of feet over the course of 3 days, it's going to be pretty durable for you when you use it as as intended. And one of the things, if you're not producing banners currently, and you'd like to, again, going back to the LexJet YouTube channel, there, and also I'll talk about the satin cloth in this vein as well. There's a couple of videos up there. One is how to finish a banner, which is using double-sided banner tape to reinforce the edges, how to grommet a banner, and also using power tabs, which basically adhesive grommets that you put onto the corners of the banner after it's reinforced, and you can just run your rope right through it and hang them. So those resources are available for you on the LexJet YouTube channel as well, and I would encourage you to check those out. Again, simple application, straightforward, and then the resources that you need to produce it are available there, or obviously give us a call and we can point you in the right direction. I'll mention this again at the end, but it's youtube.com/LexJet to get to the channel. It's pretty well organized there, and you'll see, with Dave and Pete on the call, you'll see a ton of Canon content there related to their printers and how to use them, how to set them up, really everything under the sun, you can find there. So Um, moving on to the next and final product. I'm going to say product again. Again, because it's more of a jack of all trades. You can use it for a number of different applications, just like the water-resistant satin cloth, where we talked through a number of different things you can do with that. And that's a product called Tough Coat Water-Resistant Polypropylene. I know, Dave, earlier when you were going through the office, I think you had a pop-up banner stand in the back corner. That's a great application for something like this. And Dave, go ahead, maybe talk a little bit about the print that you have and what you think of the material.
Yeah, no, it's first of all, it's so affordable, and the other thing is it doesn't hold curl, right? That's the amazing part about it. Even the 2-inch core versions, I mean, the curl just goes away pretty quickly. It just, that's one of my favorite things. During COVID, a lot of buildings would kind of put some directional sign up, and a lot of times that would be poly, and it would just go ahead and use these little things like this, and just, you don't even have to grommet it, you can just glue it, right? Because it's so lightweight.
Exactly.
And so it was great to be able to do this and just put a fishing line through with the little hooks on the on the ceiling tiles, and set that to the right distance, twirl it around, and lock it in place. So it was nice seeing, especially schools, right? They a lot of times do directional signs. So poly's great because as the kids are running through whacking it, it's tough. It's exactly as you guys kind of, you guys get the perfect term for it. The Tough Coat branding. And it's water resistant, so you can, if it gets wet, and it's a really great application. And more importantly, for a lot of people that even like CAD engineering, believe it or not, that one set that the person that is going out in the field all the time and needs to keep that set of plans with them, they'll print on poly. So this way we're like a Tyvek, one of those two types of materials, because they don't have to worry about it being torn or whatever when they're in the field. I mean, there's some nice paper products that are a little bit tougher too, but it's a proven product to really hold up. And frankly, it's one of my favorites, and I think school districts use it a lot too, because I mean, look at this is something that Pete created, but that's just amazing quality that you can get with this. Again, it's a matte, so you can in any lighting condition, you can see it from any angle, right? So which is a really nice feature about it. But it's one of my favorite products personally to sell to. I don't care who you are and what you do. It's nice for a lot of applications, specifically pop-up banners, that type of thing.
Yep.
And it eliminates that need for lamination.
Right. And I think, I kind of mentioned, earlier we were talking about the water-resistant satin cloth being a jack of all trades, print and stick. You can use that for, it's an adhesive back product, but you can use it in several ways. You'd mentioned, the tear resistance of the water-resistant polypropylene. So, like a tear-resistant poster, which is what you're basically just holding up there. You mentioned the pop-up banner stands. It's also, like the satin cloth, can be used as a backlit alternative. This film can also be used as a backlit alternative, where you could put it up, in the front window of a studio or of a store, and have it backlit, at night when you're not there. So it's, again, one of those products that can do many different things for you. So
it's funny. So here at Coley's, where I'm at today, right? You've kind of seen a little tour of this machine shop. We all know how hard it is to hire people, especially in the machining industry. It's really tough. We actually use the poly product, and they just took a glue gun to a 4x8 sheet of plywood and put it up, and it's out in front of the building as we speak, printed on poly on both sides, just because they just was the quickest way for them to not have to, they wanted something really durable. I mean, we should have done, I didn't have 60-inch peel and stick, that type of product. So, but it just holds up in a lot of different applications, especially outdoor.
Definitely.
On the perfect commercial for this, you need to print one of the giant banners and have a high school football team getting ready to run onto the field and hit it and bounce off of it.
Very good.
Not
Very good.
suitable for a
We'll take
burst.
the cheerleaders with it. Just all smashed.
They will have lost all intimidation of the other team when they bounce off of the banner.
Too funny. Listen, guys, I know a lot of the products that and applications we've talked about so far are more, I don't want to say non-photographic, or non-traditional, but they're not the typical applications I think that get produced on a Pro 4100, let's say. And really, we're trying to open up people's minds a little bit to what else they can do with the printer, and how else they can serve their customers and increase their revenue. Now, I know fine art paper is one that it's more of a traditional type application, but at the same time, there are some standard bearer type products out there, but some cool newer ones. And I know you guys want to talk a little bit about that as well. So I don't, if Dave or Pete, I don't know, who wants to lead off. And I know, really the Hahnemühle products is where we wanted to focus today.
This is, I think, the most beautiful paper ever created. Oh, this is Hahnemühle.
And what paper is that?
Photometallic. Hahnemühle's Photometallic.
Photorag Metallic.
Photorag Metallic.
4000. And this is, I don't know what it costs. I really don't. But this is just frankly amazing. So this, again, Hahnemühle Photometallic media, and it's just one of the most amazing medias I've ever seen. It just, when we go to shows and events, everybody, can I have that, right? It's that, it's a beautiful, it's what they call it, Hahnemühle Photo Rag Metallic is what its official name is, right?
That paired with the fluorescent pinks and the fluorescent colors on the GP. I mean, look, on any printer, like this paper with a black and white image, mind-blowingly good, because all of a sudden those gray tones become silvers. And it's just, it's one of those that I've yet to find an image that doesn't look better on this paper. It's just stunning. I want my business cards made on this paper. It's just beautiful, right? Beautiful paper.
And one thing I want to say, Dave, you said you weren't sure what it costs.
Oh, I do. I know what it costs. I mean,
what the ink costs. What I'm saying is the paper. I think you mentioned something about what the paper costs. And I feel like with anytime you have a very unique product like this, obviously the cost matters, but it becomes much less of a concern for our customer's customer when it's a very unique product that they can produce, and something that can't be done or isn't being done by many others. So that's one of the reasons I really do like that product and that paper, because it really is unique.
The customer's not buying the roll. The customer's buying this print, right? That's what they're buying.
That's right.
So it goes from, let's say, $10 to $20. I know it's not that drastic, but for the print, it's not. Maybe it is double. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't care. I want this, right?
Exactly.
It's going to be on my wall for many years to come, and it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's a buy it. I don't care who you are. Go get it. It's amazing. You'll love it. Your customers will dig it.
It's a showstopper. It's a show. If you're going into a gallery of photos and you're looking at works, and there's one image in there that's on that paper, it's going to stand out against all of the rest, because it's just so unique. It's so different looking. It's just stunningly beautiful paper that reproduces images better than anything I've ever seen. It's just spectacular.
Awesome.
The next one I want to show you is, it feels like sandpaper.
Like a cat.
It's absolutely gorgeous. and this is a fragile media, though, guys. This is a Hahnemühle William Turner's to 310 GSM. So when I say it's fragile, it will potentially flake off with if you're rubbing it too much. I mean, this is something that is a little more fragile than most medias that I've come across. I'm not saying it's super fragile.
Not in a bad way, and it's not in a bad way. It's just a nature of that particular grade of paper.
Yeah, one of those papers that I've always given the advice that when you're printing on a paper like this, take a dry, clean brush and just brush it before you print on it, and that's going to knock those loose fibers off. You really almost have to do that, because if you don't do that, like if you're getting ready to print on a roll it out of the machine, brush it a few times, and then roll it back in the machine, and then do your print, and that's going to take care of the bulk of those issues. And it's not exclusive to this paper. There's lots of fine art papers that have fiber to them, and whenever they're a fibrous media, you're going to have fibers that decide to take the ink with them. They'll have ink on them that little fiber will fall off, and then you'll have a white spot. Dave switched sides on me. And then you'll have a white spot left with no ink where that piece of fiber fell off. And just taking a clean, dry brush and brushing that off will knock most of those loose fibers off to begin with. But I got to tell you, that William Turner media, with the right images, like if you have an image that has a lot of texture, like of a forest or sand or whatever, it almost gives it like a three-dimensional feel. And it's one of those, I've seen so many images that in my mind, when I saw it on the screen, I said, well, that's got to be on a glossy paper or semi-gloss paper. And then I see it on William Turner, and I'm like, it just brought that image to life. Because realistically speaking, we don't live in a glossy world. It's not like we see everything and it's glossy or all metallic. When we look at things in real life, they're basically kind of a matte vision of what we're seeing. So if I'm looking at, a desert scene or sand with the water, or snow is really great. If I'm looking at a snowy scene or textures of flowers and leaves and stuff, that's not something that necessarily has to be on a semi-gloss or a gloss. But if you can find a matte that has texture, now all of a sudden those leaves that you see or that snow that you see, you almost feel like you can touch it because that texture's in the paper. And it's just, again, it's another one of it's like I said, it's like a cat's tongue. It's another one of those papers that there's just nothing else out there like it. And it's just so cool and unique.
Awesome. Anything else for today, gentlemen?
We could go on all day. I mean, Dave and I, we get more hours.
I know. I figured we hit 12 o'clock. These poor people.
You guys just have so many media options. I mean, that's the thing that's really impressive with LexJet is your library of media, and then the staff of experts you have that are there to guide people to the right media, even if it's not one of the ones that we've talked about today. There's just so many great options out there, and your staff are just experts at guiding people to the right media. They're not just there to take your order for what it is that you called in for. They're there to help you guide to hey, well, that's good, but you might actually have better results with this. And I love hearing comments like that. I've been in your sales room so many times when I've heard those conversations where it's just saying, hey, we just want to make sure you have the best possible printing experience, and let us use our expertise to guide you to the proper media. And it's almost, I don't even like to call your staff sales experts. They're more counselors. But they're really so good. And I commend you guys on the training that you put your staff through to make sure that they really are knowledgeable on the products that they're talking about. They're not just taking the orders, they know the product.
Thank you, Pete. I really appreciate that. And we all do at LexJet. And it's, it goes both ways too. With from the Canon side, the amount of support that we get and the amount of support we get for our customers because of our relationship and how closely we work with Canon, and you specifically, Pete, it makes for a nice ecosystem for our customers that are using Canon printers. So it's definitely more than appreciated on our side, and has been for a very, very long time now. So I think at this point, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. I hope all of our attendees enjoyed today's roundtable discussion. If you have questions about any of the applications that we discussed, any of the medias, you're just looking for some advice on something different for your print application, media, anything it may be, give us a call at LexJet. We'll be more than happy to help. If you have anything specific from the side of Canon, any specific questions for Pete or Dave, let us know. We can hook you guys up with them directly if need be, or we can get questions, to them from you. Really, we're just here and doing events like this to try and help all of our attendees, anyone who wants to come to these webinars, to just learn a little bit more, maybe put another tool, in their toolbox, and move forward together. So again, thank you all for your attending today. Pete, Dave, as always, a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Really appreciated your insights.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, bye-bye now, everyone. Have a great day.